All right, let's do it. So let's check. In the last video, we did question 1. Let's do question 2 and 3 over here just for a quick recap. So here again, we're going to do lesson 3, dividing polynomials, and this is the second part to the video. All right, so let's look at this problem over here. And let's look at the first part. I have x squared plus 13x plus 40 over x plus 5. And I'm not going to write out the steps like I did the last video. What I want you to do is try and write out the steps as I say it, okay? So let's take a look over here. If I have x squared plus 13x plus 40, and that's going to be divided by x plus 5, okay? So what's the first move? How many times does this x go into this x squared, okay? And then what's the algebra behind that? Don't you remember? How many times does 5 go into 20? You could always use this example, right? Is 4. So which one goes on top? This x squared goes on top, and this x goes on the bottom. And what does this equal? It equals x, okay? And if you feel like you're still confused on why this is equal to x, ask me, okay? So it's x. X times x is x squared. X times 5 is 5x, right? So what move did we do? We did the boomerang, right? Okay. Then what do? Parentheses, parentheses, subtract, okay? Now we need to distribute the negative, right? Okay, well first we can do that. So we distribute the negative, so this becomes negative, and then this becomes negative, okay? So what's x squared minus x squared, right? What's x squared minus x squared? That's 0. Okay, so this cancels. Now what's 13x minus 5x? That's 8x. So we bring the 8x over here, and we bring down the 40. Okay? Now what's next? What do we say? We say, how many times does x go into this 8x, right? How many times does 5 go into 20? How many times does x go into x squared? How many times does x go into 8x? Okay? And that should just be 8 times. Okay? Now this is plus 8. And then what do? 8 times x is 8x. 8 times 5 is 40. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. And notice that if I have something minus the same thing, it's 0. Right? But if you just want to double check, what do? You distribute the negative. Distribute the negative. And now here, what is 8x minus 8x? That's 0. And what's 40 minus 40? That's also 0. And that's it. And now we're done. But what does this mean? For example, if I say what's 20 divided by 5, it's 4. I know that if I multiply these two, if I multiply 5 times 4, it has to give me 20. So if I multiply these two, they better give me x squared plus 13x plus 40, and I could check it right here. So x plus 8, x plus 5. If I FOIL it, x times x is x squared, x times 5 is 5x, 8 times x is 8x, 8 times 5 is 40. And then if I combine these two in the middle, I have x squared plus 13x plus 40. And notice that these two match. Okay? Smiley face. Alright, let's do the next one. Here, if I have 2x squared plus 9x plus 4, and I want to divide that by x plus 4, okay? And now it's the same technique, okay? What I want you to do is, if you felt like this was very fast, take your time and try and do it again, okay? If you feel like you need to write what I'm saying on the side, like before, I had, what was it? Like before, I had this. I had all the steps I was saying. If you feel like you need to write the steps as I'm doing it, go ahead. But for time, I can't write out all the steps for you, right? So let's do the next part. Here, boom, boom. All right, let's look at this. So what do we say? How many times does this x go into this 2x squared? Okay, so this is a little bit different. So how many times does x go into 2x squared? I want you to pause the video and write the algebra. Like, how does it go? What goes on the top, what goes on the bottom? 2x squared goes on the top, x goes on the bottom. Now here, what is this equal to? Notice that there's that invisible 1 here. So what's 2 divided by 1? Like, what is 2 divided by 1? That's 2. So this part over here is 2. Okay? That's 2. But what about this part over here? What's x squared divided by x? That's just x. And we've done that a few times. So this is 2x. So I put a 2x here. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 4 is 8x. Okay? Then, parentheses, parentheses, subtract. And if you feel like I'm going very fast, pause the video and go back. Okay? But I'm going to speed it up a little bit. So what do? I distribute the negative. Okay? So 2x squared, right? What are you saying? You're saying 2x squared minus 2x squared, that's 0. What about this one? 9x minus 8x is just 1x or just x, right? Try not to get into the habit of saying 1x. So that's just x. Then what do? You bring down the 4, and then you say how many times does x go into x, right? How many times does x go into x? And then what is, this x over here? And then what is this equal to? It's 1. Okay, so then I say plus 1 over here. 1 times x is x. 1 times 4 is 4. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. Distribute the negative. So this is positive, this is negative. You have x minus x is 0. 4 minus 4 is 0. And then we are done. We get a 0 over here. And what has to be true? That this times this is that. So I have x plus 4 times 2x plus 1 has to equal 2x squared plus 9x plus 4. And if you want, you could FOIL it and check it out for yourself. All right, let's do the next one. Not this page. Let's look at this page over here. All right, so it gets a little more tricky. Let's take a look over here, number 4. Okay. So what do? Take this 2x squared plus 15x squared. Oh, that's a cube, I'm sorry. Cube plus 27x plus 5. Okay. Then I do this, and then I say 2x plus 5 is here. Okay. So what's the first thing you say? How many times does this 2x go into this 2x cubed? What I want you to do is, or what I should have said before was, I want you to try and do these problems by yourself. And if you need my help with it, I'll be right there. Okay, so how many times does 2x go into 2x cubed? You say 2x cubed divided by 2x, right? This one goes on the top, this one goes on the bottom. And then what is this equal to? 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then x cubed divided by x is x squared. Why is x cubed divided by x squared? Because how many x's do you have on top? I have 3. How many do I have on the bottom? 1. How many do I have left? I have 2 left. Okay? Remember, that's one way of doing it. Or you're doing, remember, this is a 1 over here. You're doing x to the 3 minus 1, which is x squared. Okay? So either way of explaining it are good. So this is just x squared. Then what do? I got a boomerang. X squared times 2x is 2x cubed, right? I'll show it over here that I'm saying x squared times 2x is 2x cubed, right? X squared times 2x is 2x cubed. Okay, then what do? X squared times 5 is 5x squared. And that goes over here. Okay? Then what do? Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. Okay? Now you distribute the negative. So then this is negative, and this is negative. Then this becomes, what's 2x cubed minus 2x cubed? That's 0. Okay, so this is 0, cancels. And then what's 15x squared minus 5x squared? That's 10x squared. So I put it over here. Then what do? I bring everything down. And then what do I ask myself? I say, how many times does 2x go into this 10x squared? Okay, so then what's the algebra? Which one goes on top? Which one goes on the bottom? The 10x squared goes on top. The 2x goes on the bottom. So then what's 10 divided by 2, right? I want to do this part over here. What's 10 divided by 2? That's 5. What's x squared divided by x? Is x. So then this 5x goes up here. And I say, then I do the same thing. 5x times 2x is 10x squared. 5x times 5 is 25x. Okay? And then I parentheses subtract. So 10x squared minus, now remember, distribute the negative, distribute the negative, okay? So what is 10x squared minus 10x squared? That's 0. What's 27x minus 25x? That's 2x, okay? So that 2x goes over here, and this 5, you bring it down, okay? So now, how many times does 2x go into 2x? What's the algebra? This 2x goes on the top, this 2x goes on the bottom, and that's equal to just 1, right? Because 2 divided by 2 is 1, x divided by x is also 1. So this is just 1. Then I boomerang 1 times 2x is 2x, 1 times 5 is 5, parentheses subtract, and now I have 0, okay? And that's it, we're done. And what has to be true, this times this has to give me that. And you could check it for yourself if you want. Okay, let's look at the next one over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this problem on another piece of paper so I have more space. So this is what? It's x to the 4th plus 4x cubed plus 3x squared plus 4x plus 2. And I'm going to divide that by x squared plus 1. Okay, so let's take a look at this problem over here. What's the first move? How many times does this x squared go into this x to the 4th? What's the algebra? This one goes on top, this one goes on the bottom. And what do I do with the exponents here? I'm doing 4 minus 2, which is just 2. So it's just x squared, okay? Now here I have x squared times x squared is x to the 4th. Now this gets a little tricky. We have x squared times 1. Wait, let me just show this. So x squared times x squared is x to the 4th, right? So that's what I'm talking about. This times this is this. Now what's the next one? This times this, right? X squared times 1 is x squared. But where do I put this x squared? Do not put the x squared over here, because notice how the exponents have to align. If this is a 4, this is a 4. If this is a 3, this should be a 3 over here, but it's not, it's a 2. So instead, you're going to put it over here, okay? And I know that might have been a little tricky, right? So this x squared times 1 is x squared. Now what you do is the same thing. You do parentheses subtract, right? So this becomes what? This becomes negative. And then this one also, well, this was originally positive, right? So now it just becomes negative, okay? Now here, you have x to the 4th minus x to the 4th is 0, okay? So this cancels. Now this negative does nothing to this. So instead, you have to bring it down, okay? Then this is 3x squared minus x squared. That's 2x squared. So I bring the 2x squared down, plus 4x plus 2. Okay? Now you ask yourself, how many times does x squared go into this 4x cubed? And what's the algebra behind it? You say 4x cubed divided by x squared. That's just 4 divided by 1 is 4. This is 3 minus 2 is 1. So this is just 4x. Okay? Then what do you do? 4x times x squared is 4x cubed. Let me write it. 4x times x squared is 4x cubed, right? So that goes here. What's the next one? 4x times 1 is 4x. Now, you see this 4x cubed went here. This 4x, where does it go? It does not go under here, it goes under this. So this is a 4x over here, okay? Parentheses subtract. Then what? This minus this is 0. This 2x squared comes down. I distribute the negative over here, so this is negative 4x, right? And then this becomes 0, right? 4x minus 4x is 0. And what do I have to bring down is that positive 2. Okay? Then what do you say? How many times does x squared go into 2x squared? then this becomes what? What's the algebra? It's 2x squared divided by x squared, which is 2. So I have a plus 2 over here. 2 times x squared is 2x squared. 2 times 1 is 2. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. And this just becomes 0. And then that's it. This is our answer over here. Okie dokie. So we did 4. We did 5. What I want you to do is, let's do 6 together. All right, this is going to be this has been a lot. Well, let's do 6 together. So number 6. I'll say x to the 4th minus 2x cubed minus 2x squared, plus 2x squared minus 2x plus 1 over x minus 1. Okay, so this is number 6. We're going to just do it over here. All right, so let's do it. What's the first move? I really want you to try and do this problem by yourself. And you should only be seeing this if you're struggling a lot and you feel like you just can't do it by yourself. So here, how many times does this x go into this x to the 4th? So what is it? Say x to the 4th goes on top, right? Which one? This one goes on the top, this one goes on the bottom. And what is this equal to? It's x to the 3. Because don't you remember, there's that 1 over here, and 4 minus 1 is 3. So if I have x cubed is over here, x cubed times x is x to the 4th. X cubed times minus 1 is minus x cubed. And notice, you see how the exponents are aligned? Okay, what do I do next? Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. Okay? Now I distribute the negative. So this becomes negative. And notice, what's negative times negative? This becomes positive. So here, I'm doing x to the 4th minus x to the 4th is 0. So this cancels. Now what am I doing? I'm doing negative 2x cubed plus x cubed. And this, take your time, but this should be negative x cubed. And what is going on here? Because this is saying negative 2 plus 1. And what is negative 2 plus 1? It's negative 1. Or it's just negative 1 x cubed. Okay, so that was a little tricky. Negative x cubed. You see, the previous problems before, you see how everything is positive? And over here, everything else was also positive. In this problem, you have negatives and positives, and we have to start getting used to it. Okay, so now we have negative x cubed, and you bring everything down. Okay, and the same idea, we still have it. We say, how many times does this x go into that negative x cubed? This one goes on the top, this one goes on the bottom. And now here, when we do this, notice that this is a negative divided by a positive, and this is negative. Okay? A negative divided by a positive is negative. But this is negative 1 divided by 1, that's negative 1. So this is negative x squared. Because here we have the 3 minus 1 is the 2 here, but this is negative 1 divided by 1 is negative x squared. So I have negative x squared up top here. Then what do I do? Negative x squared times this is negative x cubed. Negative x squared times negative 1 is positive x squared. Okay? Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. Okay, so now we distribute the negative. So negative times negative is positive. Negative times positive is negative. Okay? So now here, I have negative x cubed plus x cubed, right? This is negative x cubed, and this is a plus x cubed. This is the same as negative 1 plus 1, and that's 0. Cancels. Here I have 2x squared minus x squared. That's the same as 2 minus 1. So it's just 1x squared, or just x squared. And that x squared goes here. And then you bring everything down. Okay? Then what do you say? How many times does this x go into what? This x squared. And this shouldn't be negative. I just made that mistake. This is positive. And then here, this is what? X squared divided by x is x. So then I put this x over here, and x times x is x squared. X times minus 1 is minus x. And then what do? Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. and then I'm going to distribute the negative. So this is negative, this becomes positive, and now here, if I have negative x, if I have x squared minus x squared, that's 0. And what about the next one? If I have negative 2x plus x, this is negative x. So I have negative x over here, and I have a plus 1 over here. Okay? Now, what do? I say, how many times does this x go into this negative x? And which one goes on top? This one goes on the top, this one goes on the bottom, and that's negative 1. So then I have negative 1 times this is negative x plus 1, parentheses, parentheses, subtract, and then this becomes 0. Okay? Whew, that one was a tough one. But this is it. And how can I check? If I multiply this times this, it should give me that. Okay, 21 minutes. I did not want to make a video for 21 minutes, but it is what it is. I hope this helped. What I want you to do is try and do the summary, right? What are some things you felt like you picked up today? And this is your homework assignment. Are these 3 questions? Try them in class, or you could try them at home. All right, I hope this helped. See you.